Adrian Houser, Jason Foley, Sam Hentges, you are San Francisco Giants. Jeff Kent, you are in the Hall of Fame. And what about the Giants being one of the front runners for Brendan Donovan? All that and more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Giants Baseball with Ben Kaspick. As the name suggests, my name is Ben Kaspick and I'm going to talk about Giants Baseball as I've been doing since I began podcasting about the Giants in 2015 independently for on a show I called Covecast, and then I was a part of the Locked On Podcast Network for over 6.5 years, and now here we are independently once again podcasting about the San Francisco Giants. And so much has happened since the last time we spoke. The winter meetings have come and gone. It was a kind of a dud of a winter meetings, except there was some significant Giants news with, as I mentioned there, Jeff Kent being elected to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. So this is a huge deal for this franchise because he is going to go in wearing a Giants hat, and you may see a Jeff Kent statue at 24 Willie Mays Plaza sooner rather than later with this news. That is just a huge accomplishment, a huge deal for Kent. Bonds not getting in. And Kent, by the way, he was off it wasn't the traditional method, the traditional route. He wasn't voted in by the writers. It was a committee that voted. They voted on a number of players, and Kent was the only one who was elected by this committee. So we'll get to that news later, and some coaching staff news. Marco Luciano news. He's claimed off waivers by the Pirates, and why was he even put on waivers in the first place? So much to get to, and then Brendan Donovan as well. Good second baseman. Giants considered, quote, front runners for him in a trade. Ketel, Marte, trade possibilities. But first I want to get to some tangible things. However, first, I should mention that this podcast is paywalled. And so because we have no ads ever, the only source of income is from contributions from listeners, voluntary contributions. Part of the podcast, part of everything I write is always going to be free, but part of it has to be paywalled. And if you want the full episode, you can go to benkaspick.com, Kaspick, or it's on Substack, and it's called Giants Baseball with Ben Kaspick. And we have that information, or we have that subscription available to you there. It's $5 a month or $50 a year for this ad-free independent Giants coverage. So anyway, for those of you who are non-paid subscribers, you will be cut off, and the only way, like halfway through, and the only way to listen to the whole thing is on Substack or the Substack app. Anyway, getting now to the news of the day, the Giants have reportedly signed right-handed pitcher Adrian Houser to a 2-year, $22 million contract. And that is the big news of the day. But in recent days and weeks, I think it was just today, actually, though, they even announced that they signed reliever Jason Foley to a 1-year deal. And they also signed Sam Hentges to a major league deal. And both Foley and Hentges are coming off of injury-plagued seasons. I think both may have even missed the entire year. But for Foley, he is not expected to return until mid-season, whereas Hentges, a left-handed pitcher, expects to be back by the start of the season. But the news of the day is, the biggest news is Adrian Houser, because Adrian Houser gets a multi-year contract here from the Giants. So it's a 2-year, $22 million contract as first reported by Jeff Passan of ESPN. And so this is a relatively significant free agent acquisition here for the Giants. And so who is Adrian Houser? What does he bring to the table? Well, he's 32 years old. He'll turn 33 in early February, and he's coming off a season in which he had a 3.31 ERA and a 3.81 fielding independent pitching, but a 4.03 expected ERA, so like 0.72 runs higher than his actual ERA. And in previous years, he spent most of his time with the Brewers, and he's done most of his work out of the starting rotation. He has always been below average in terms of striking people out. His career strikeout rate is 18.4%. Last year it was 17.8%. But his career ground ball rate is 51.3%, and that is high. The major league average is around 41% or so. And so he gets ground balls about 10 percentage points more often than major league average. And so this is something that is good because it helps you suppress home runs in his career. He's only allowed 0.9 home runs per 9 innings and a home run to fly ball ratio that is pretty normal, but he doesn't, like I said, he allows fewer fly balls than normal because he's allowing so many ground balls. And so home run suppression in a home run suppression type park, but pitch to contact, I don't know that it's a little bit of a break from the previous regime's philosophy in terms of pitchers who pitch to contact, but like I can't remember the last time the Giants signed a pitcher with a strikeout rate of 18%. But you think of guys like Tyler Rogers, he was not a strikeout pitcher either, but Hauser is more of a traditional thrower. He's not like submarining it up there. And speaking of Tyler Rogers, there's so much to get to. We're not going to be able to even begin to cover it all today, but Tyler Rogers agreed to a deal with the Toronto Blue Jays since we last spoke, and Mike Yastrzemski agreed to a deal with the Braves. So both of those players getting multi-year deals north of $20 million. Rogers in the 30s, and Yastrzemski north, I think it was 2 years, $23 million. So good for them. But getting back to Adrian Houser, the key takeaway for me is that he's kind of just like an average-ish seeming pitcher. And that's not very exciting, but when you're paying you're paying for 2 years and it's $11 million a year, that's kind of what you would expect for, or even a little bit of a bargain for, average starting pitching. And for the Giants, it raises the floor for a group that had a lot of question marks. Like even Robbie Ray is a bit of a question mark as he struggled down the stretch last season. Believe it was down the stretch. I'm trying to remember now. His ERA skyrocketed. His rolling 15-game or 5-game ERA at the end of the year was 8.74. So numbers kind of ballooned as the season ended for Robbie Ray. But it's Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, and then Robbie Ray is a free agent at the end of the season. And so a bunch of question marks after that, essentially. And, obviously there are other players in the mix there and a lot of young players. You're talking about Hayden Birdsong. You're talking about Blade Tidwell, Kaiwei Tang. There's Landon Roop. I failed to mention him. He's I think he's earned the right to be that, like, the only guy among that group who's actually for sure in the rotation to start the year, would be my guess. Coming off a season in which he posted a 3.80 ERA, a 3.91 fielding independent pitching, 4.24, however, expected ERA. But a nice season for Roop, who ended up being put on the injured list in August, and that was the last time he pitched, the 27-year-old Roop. So anyway, adding even just an average arm to the mix in Adrian Houser, I think, is a good thing. However, of course, you'd like to see them make a splash and go out and get one of the top starters available. And we've even seen the likes of Zach Manassian, like the Giants general manager, interviewed and asked about how many starters does he think they need this offseason. And he said, he was directly asked, would you like to get one or two? And he said, ideally two. And so here's one. And so the question is, who's the other one if they're saying ideally two? And hopefully it is someone who's more of a true number two type starter to put up there with Logan Webb. I know you have Robbie Ray, but to me, Robbie Ray more of a maybe number three starter. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but just the more talent you can bring in, the better, obviously. But there's still a lot of really good pitching out there. Framber Valdez, apparently the Giants met with him at the GM meetings, I guess. And there's players coming over from Japan who are in the mix there as potential impact starters. But for Hauser, you're not expecting the world, but he is a major league veteran, has thrown 733 and 2/3 innings of 4.06 ERA baseball, and that's playing in mostly Milwaukee, which is a very hitter-friendly park. And so he was a successful player for Milwaukee. He had a lot of years in which he was pretty good. I mean, look at 2021, 142 and a third innings, 3.22 ERA. 2023, 111 and a third innings, 4.12 ERA, which was better than league average when adjusting for the ballpark. 3.72 ERA in 2019, doing work, 111 and a third again innings. That year he had a 25.3% strikeout rate, but consistently a ground ball guy. And so that plays well when you got Matt Chapman at third base. We don't know who's going to play second. Presumably at this moment you would pencil in Casey Schmidt, but that is a position where I feel like they could make a upgrade, and there's a number of routes they could go there. There's Brendan Donovan. There's who apparently the Giants are front runners for him, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. In a trade, front runners for trading for him. And there's Ketel Marte, which I think is way more unrealistic. And then there are free agents like Bo Bichette. But Donovan and Bichette actually have defensive question marks. So I don't know. The point is, it's good to keep the ball on the ground, and Hauser does that, and it's a 2-year, $22 million contract. I'm not sure exactly what the free agent kind of predictions were. Like, I'm not sure if there was a lot of people guessing that he would get a multiple year contract, but that's what the Giants gave him. I'm not like over the moon with this signing, but also like reliable pitcher in the rotation sounds good to me, given what the Giants, they basically ran out of pitching by the end of the year in 2025. So moving on, we're going to get to a couple of bullpen arms that the Giants have reportedly signed, or actually officially signed per the team. I mean, both of these players, Jason Foley and Sam Hentges. Jason Foley is expected to be back mid-season, according to the Giants, and the contract is for, I lost it. I had it pulled up, and then I lost it, of course. let's see, $2 million, excuse me. He was non-tendered by the Tigers, and so they decided that they did not want to. I don't know what his expected arbitration salary was, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is he was non-tendered by the Tigers, and he was really good with the Tigers. I mean, this guy has a career ERA of 3.16 with a fielding independent pitching of 3.22. So those are outstanding numbers. Career ground ball rate of 54%. So you're seeing a targeting of pitchers with high ground ball rates, which is something that you did see with the previous regime, and that's carried over into this new regime led by Buster Posey. So home run suppression was a big thing with Jason Foley, who is a right-handed pitcher, picked up quite a few saves. He was the Tigers' closer in 2024, I believe. I mean, he had 28 saves in 69 games, despite a strikeout rate of just 18.4%. So I feel like I'm looking at Adrian Houser here, but even more command. We're talking like exceptional walk rates, career walk rate of 6.2%, ground ball rate 54.1%. So those are outstanding. Expected ERAs have run a little bit higher than his career expected ERA is 3.90 compared to an actual ERA of 3.16, fielding independent pitching of 3.22. So you need to play good defense behind him because he's not going to strike out a ton of guys. He's going to strike out a below average number of hitters, but he keeps the ball on the ground and that limits home runs, and that tends to lead to success. And you pick up strikeouts here and there. It's just a little bit of a below average rate. So unfortunately, he's going to miss half the year, but it's a $2 million signing, and then he's under team control through 2028. And so that's what happens when a guy gets like non-tendered, but he's still arbitration eligible. Like he only has 3 years, 150 days of major league service time, and you're not a free agent until a season ends in which you have over 6 years of service time. And so he would not be eligible until after the 2028 season. And so Giants could keep Jason Foley around for 3 years. And so I like the addition here of Foley, 6'4", 215 pounds, and yet a low strikeout rate despite a fastball velocity that's upper 90s. In 2024, so he didn't pitch at all last year. 2024 averaged 97.2, 2023 averaged 98.1. So we'll see what he has when he comes back, assuming he comes back. But anyway, they pick him up. They really need to remake their whole bullpen after losing Randy Rodriguez to Tommy John and trading away Camilo Doval, who's still under team control with the Yankees, and Tyler Rogers, who then signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. So right now it's a bunch of kind of question marks, not entirely, but Ryan Walker, Joel Peguero, Eric Miller, Jose Butto, Matt Gage, Spencer Bivens, JT Brubaker, who was tendered a contract by the Giants. That's kind of, and then Sam Hentges, who we're going to get to in a second. That was what the depth chart was looking for, looking like, excuse me. Now you add Foley mid-season to the mix there. I still think they have work to do. I don't think that's a complete pen, but adding Foley and then adding Hentges, I think adds a lot. And so you've also now got 3 lefties in there when you add in Hentges. So let's get into Sam Hentges, who signs a 1-year, $1.4 million deal after being non-tendered by Cleveland. And so it's the same deal. It's different. It's different based on the number of years. He is eligible for free agency after the 2027 season. So the Giants can control Hentges for 2 years, this year and the upcoming year. And he's also coming off an injury. He also didn't pitch at all in 2025. More of a strikeout guy, career strikeout rate of 25.4%. That's above average. This is a left-handed pitcher who throws in the mid-90s, averaged 95.6 in 2023 with his fastball, 95.0 in 2024, and a career ground ball rate of 53.4%. So ground balls and strikeouts and velocity from the left side. I like these arms. It's just a matter of health. And it's also just a matter of, do you just build a pitching staff out of, solid but not spectacular players? And of course you would prefer spectacular, but in the bullpen, I think you kind of want to just develop your own talent. Like the Giants, they found a lot of success that way. Camilo Duvall, Randy Rodriguez, Tyler Rogers, thinking back, Brian Wilson, etc., Sergio Romo, many others drafted and developed by the Giants, Santiago Casilla. And so, anyway, I do like the Hentges pickup, and apparently he's expecting to be ready for spring training. I heard a little interview with him. So, those are some solid moves. Hauser is like the big news of the day because it's a multiple year deal. First one the Giants have handed out this offseason. I do expect more moves to come for the Giants. One thing also, by the way, we didn't even mention as a tease was the draft lottery and how the Giants hit it big in the draft lottery, which is something else we'll have to get to. So the winter meetings were quiet in a way, but Jeff Kent gets elected to the Hall of Fame, and the Giants move up to number 4 overall with their draft pick, when they, by record at 81 should have, quote unquote, picked 15th. And so they move up to number 4. So that's a huge win for the Giants. But at this point, let's get into the Giants being, quote, front runners for Brendan Donovan.